our City of Port Richey City Council meeting. Start off with a couple of announcements before Grant. Mayor Rogers, here tonight. Wife. The other thing I wanted to
Silence before Pat delivers the invocation. So if we could do that, and our appreciation for that service. So if y'all stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Father God, we come before you tonight to thank you for the lives of Bill and the work he did for the city, and for Danny and his wife. And we also want you to bless all the residents of Port Richey, the agenda items, and God bless all of you. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Madam Clerk, have roll, please.
Mayor Johnny R. Coover,
Here.
Vice Mayor Linda Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilman David Mueller,
Here.
Councilman Robert Hubbard,
Here.
Councilwoman Lisa Burke,
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer, here. City Manager Matthew Cobbler.
Here. Thank you. We do have a couple of proclamations tonight. If I could have Damian Lineball come up, and also commitment and professionalism in his role with the fast dedication to the safety of our community. Damian has gone above and beyond in his duties, making significant contributions to both emergency response efforts and fire prevention initiatives. And whereas Damian has exemplified the John Coover, Mayor of the City of Port Richey, in recognition of driver engineer Damian Lineball being named Firefighter of the Year, we honor him and we thank him for his example. And now, volunteer vocation to the Port Richey Fire Department. And whereas Bruce has consistently gone above and beyond expectations, providing invaluable support during emergency responses, training exercises, and community outreach programs, and whereas his unwavering dedication to the safety and well-being significant impact, respect, and admiration of his not only enhances the effectiveness of the fire department, but also inspires others to serve. Now, therefore, I, John Eric Hoover, Mayor of the City of Port Richey, in recognition of volunteer firefighter Bruce Uronicus being named Volunteer Firefighter of the Year, we honor his remarkable service and dedication to the citizens of Port Richey and express our heartfelt gratitude for his contributions to our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause the great city of Port Richey to be affixed this January 28th, 2025. John Eric Hoover. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah, one big round of applause, everybody.
You want to do a picture with Gary and Tom and the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
two of them?
Sure.
Maybe their families and stuff. Sorry,
Yeah, the families will take a picture. You guys don't mind?
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is
Sure.
important. Come on.
Wants to be.
Bring a football team?
Chief, gotta be up front. Come on, I'm on behind you.
You gotta turn it to the side.
This is great though.
Okay, hold on.
Take your time. Don't worry, we have firefighters in the house that can help. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, next up is council minutes from 9/24/2024. If I got a motion for approval.
Motion to approve council minutes 9/24/24.
Second. Have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is comments from the general public. I have one signed up, Pat Rogers. Welcome.
Pat Rogers, 4838. I had some information and I could not find it. Okiet Avenue. And there will be a prayer for the country event that's going to go on. And I will exact date to you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the sign-ups I have. By show of hands, anyone in the audience like to? Boy, they all cleared out. Okay, that concludes public comment. And next up is comments from the city manager. I'll pass it to Mr. Koppler for his comments.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I have a few. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get something in writing to you, but we'll go. First off, I want to let you know that we're in the process of submitting a mitigation grant through the Florida Department of Emergency Management. This is a 75-25% match to do a stormwater master plan. It's everything, but it was going to be a start. Lo and behold, we get noticed actually through our lobbyist about this, and we had a short opportunity to get it done, so we've been working at it. But it's something that if we can get this, it will need on the stormwater management plan that we're from our standpoint. That's due by the end of the week. I hope to have everything ready to go and out the door tomorrow. So keep our fingers crossed on that. Another grant program that we're looking at is a boat here for Nick's Park until I think April 1st to actually get the project into them. But we're looking to add a few that we hadn't done before. You know, obviously the first part is fixing to do a little bit more boat slips for transient boats, because that's something that we're missing in the downtown so people can pull up, and also doing if possible, I'm not saying it is possible at this point on it, but looking at doing kind of a step down. It's not going to be a place for people to access the water, but you know, people would be able to sit there and enjoy the scenery of the birds that are there right now, and watching boats go through there. So we're working on that. We hope to have an engineer selected to do the work that we need to get us to the point where we can do that application. I think with the project we're putting forward, making sure that we explain it properly, we should be very competitive this year for that grant. So and Ashley, if you could bring up the map that I gave to you. So the building department has been working with a resident that lives on Manatee.
Manatee Point.
Yes, Manatee. And I can't remember what the address was. I was go down. So this area, and I'm sure you all are aware of this, is kind of a little bit of, and a portion of it's in the city and a portion of it's not in the city limits. And so everything to the south of that, those properties are actually in New Port Richey, and everything to the west, I guess, or north?
North.
Well, the other side of that line is in whichever direction it is. Yeah, the top part of that, of the blue area that's there. And this particular house has substantial damage over the 50% mark. They want to tear it down. And so I think back and forth between the owner and the city of Newport Richey. I had an opportunity to speak with the city manager of Newport Richey regarding this, and she feels that we need to do a interlocal agreement to kind of fix this issue, so the residents won't have to deal with, well, is it Newport Richey? Is it Port Richey? And so what they are proposing those properties that are in yellow or whatever color you want to call that, those would, the city of Newport Richey would respond. Now, when you look at the way that they are assessing the buildings for Newport Richey, the land to the back, Port Richey. And now the other properties that are in blue, and Newport Richey. So I think what they're suggesting now is always in the local will look like and what the details are, but we need to get that homeowner and Newport Richey would allow us to take this forward. And so tonight, what I would ask, if there could be a consensus to allow me to develop
Left there, those green, those are ours as
Yeah.
well. And I guess the island, is that part of ours? Or is
Yep, that is ours
That's
as
a
well.
park.
Yeah, that's a park.
Right. So all that's ours, those three green ones. So the proposal.
Standpoint, it still would be the same. I mean, again, that's not been put out there. It may be put out there. I don't know. But this goes, and again, the devil's in the details, and we need attorney put together the interlocal to start.
Is there running down the road, and anything to the north of the road is us, and anything to the south is Newport Richey?
So-
would it be easier to deal with it like that?
So and I was going to actually say the same thing. I've advocated to fix this. Let's call it a mess of properties. Some people's pool, like and us, and house and there. This is definitely a step in the right direction, but you still got that section of properties right in. Was it
In the
4
middle.
properties in between Port Rich? It's not the ideal way to split it, although it does fix the problem temporarily. I think we ought to look at down the road actually, and
Well, I think from their perspective,
if we're going to go through this motion, maybe we should.
The issue from their perspective is they're not going to give up. This is a good number.
Substantial.
And so, at the end of the day, just like we're probably not going to give up all of our tax revenues just to give it to them. The best way to handle it, really, and again, this is what my thought is of this interlocal, is to figure out the service levels, who is going to be providing services and what services to those residents. And it's not going to have an impact on the way that the revenues are coming in and going out. I mean, Newport Richey will still get their cut of the properties. We get the parcels that are in the city of Port
Net zero. They keep the same. We keep the same.
Yeah,
There's no-
I mean, again, unless they're coming up with something different, because I guess really what our priority is to the point and going through this interlocal that we can't reach an agreement, but we won't hold up that. Again, interlocals can take a long time, and a lot of these things will be talked about.
the residents have some input into the.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Because there may be some that prefer Port Richey over Newport Richey. Maybe they get good service in their swimming pool now. They'd like to have that
in
in front.
Port Richey than it is in Newport Richey.
It is lower tax rate in the city of Port Richey as well. That's true.
Well,
Considerably lower.
again, I think what can all be discussed. I'm guessing when you're starting to, take money out of people's pockets, which is what we'll be doing, that's going to be more complicated. Process from one city to the next in terms of that.
Would that be an annex? If all 4 properties
Well,
said
it's-
yes, wouldn't that be an annexation?
No, I can't remember. There's a word for it. I just can't remember what it is. But again, people are willing to give us money, or we're willing to give them money right now, right?
Can I?
If I could just finish real quick.
Yes, yes.
So the interlocal is a way to work around it, to give surety.
I
have no problem with the analytics, so they can get their house done, that's not a problem. My question is life safety, has nothing to do with this permitting process. I mean, like, well, when they call in to 911, how the heck do they know Ritchie or Newport Ritchie? If if the people in the yellow, their house goes on fire,
Identify in the system that this is unincorporated, or it's incorporated city of Port Ritchie, or incorporated. So those addresses one system to where it identifies right away to the dispatcher.
Been any that comes to your mind? I don't know.
I mean, there's only a
Captain,
couple
if
homes
there's-
in there. So
The law side, we don't get a whole lot of calls out there. And when we do, typically go out and then we look at it. And historically, we would look at where the house is, if the property on the Newport section of it, you know, or if the incident occurred in one portion, we would address it that way.
thank you.
I think what explains for the residents so they know where to go and allows us who takes the priority on it.
And they need to have some clarity.
Is it possible to do the interlocal on that one particular property? The whole area to where we get
Yep.
resident engagement? I mean, there's,
Anything's possible, but again, talking about is transferring money that, and first off, that's a bigger process you have to go
Sure.
through. That I'm pretty sure is going to involve the residents to make that choice, and so you may have again going to be as friendly of a discussion versus we want to get interlocal get taken care of. I guess my position on this in the city of Port Ritchie and our residents, because it gets something better spelled out to who's serving that corresponds to the way it is right now.
I think we've had before. I know I had the previous with John. Yeah.
Move forward with this.
Yeah.
Move forward with this, and then have that other discussion at a later date.
That-
Move on.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yes.
But higher millage rate, and so we would.
The problem now, which is where the fire is burning, and two, move forward with this.
Yeah, so this is one of the back 5505 Manatee Point. So the back parcel, right? Different bills. The land comes, the house goes to Newport Ritchie, and we're doing with these levels of services, which some are already being done.
The taxes stay the same.
The tax, sure, if Newport say, well, we get those. Well, I mean, they may say that, and we'll have to talk about
Well,
it.
if it comes to that, I think you need to involve.
Yeah.
That's what my concern is change.
And just that one that I showed you, the difference, 77,000
It might not make it
versus 1 million. I don't think
it may be worth it. But again, I just I want to be cautious.
You guys, and so we're looking at possibly having a special meeting that day so you can have a chance to meet them and questions. We're going to be working. I just wanted you to be aware so you can maybe put that date. And we'll set the date. One more thing before Edward. And I don't know if you want to start bringing that up, and while you're bringing the procedures and the policies we have in place. And we made it through very little difficulty, thanks to the image reports. And that may be a little bit more difficult, but we hope that we'll be able to get through those as well. So with that, and to move forward, I'll turn it over to the building department.
I can't imagine that any audit has anything but at least minor deficiencies. So, it makes that and gets a perfect rating. So,
we were very pleased when we met with them. So, and one.
Yep. Yeah. Kudos to you guys. Like I said, I know you guys don't get a lot of praise, but kudos for that.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to ask, you guys put a presentation together last time. Could those be included as well in the minutes?
In the minutes? Yeah, they should be able. In the minutes?
They were not included in the minutes.
Okay.
Good information.
And the walk-in, phone calls, emails, things of that nature. On staff, one temporary full-time building official. Next slide here. Permitting. Try to make it as big as I could. Slide here. Permitting. Try to make it as big as I could without it going off the page. But just to give you an idea, what this 2023 and 2024 to present. 2023, there was a total of 511 permits issued. From October 1st through January 2025, there have been a total of 394 permits applied for, of which 215 were issued, 127 permits that we still have on hold waiting and pending from year to year. We have new single pending they were post-storm. Building department is responsible for the intake of all required documentation for each permit submitted. Per Florida statute, the building has 30 days to require unforeseen circumstances such as the 2 hurricanes has put us behind. And we understand that residents can be done. But please ridiculous we have to be permits adequately, efficiently. People are saying, what's taken so long? I've had it sit there for 3 months. It's still not there. And check to see where you're at. You can check to see if there's notes that each permit is online. And I know we get phone calls all the time. I submitted my permit a month ago. What has taken so long? Why hasn't it been issued? And then we go into iWork and we check and see that there's paperwork missing. Sign something. Not waiting a day, and you could do that, a walkthrough permit that quickly, as far as inputting, it could take you maybe an hour by the time you get all the those amounts. So it is time consuming when you have one person doing those amounts. Do that, right? So, the days sometimes as a walkthrough, but these permits, because they have to be reviewed, so you have to be careful with everything. You have to account for every line item they're putting there. Check. And everything has to be researched.
Circumstances is going to increase those timelines, but I feel like we probably should track that. And the reason I bring news, but it would be nice if we did track that. So if it came a point where we were really taking a lot longer, we could at least be aware of it.
And that may be again full discussion about KPIs that we're going to be understanding everything that this not the time we be able to do that. We be able to do that.
You know, to that point, there are that need to occur, but if you're missing a form, it stalls the process and don't allow you to go through. In other words, it won't let the individual proceed through the process unless
Clock didn't start, everything's in.
yeah.
You could do that. The problem is all you're going to do is upset them.
The point is,
Because
you're upsetting them
because
anyway.
that's right, exactly. So it doesn't matter. So you can either upset them now or you can upset them later.
Well,
Because when they're coming in, if they come in and they don't have everything there,
then they need.
then we're going to hand it all back to them. Now they're
I
screaming and hollering at you
I'm
guys.
just saying, is there a way to?
There's not a way. No.
Well,
I think, again, as we sit here today, the difficulty we have in envisioning that future is that we are working to try to get everyone through the process as fast as possible. And in doing that, right now, we're willing to absorb that start and stop because it's, the intake piece that is really where you win that battle, right? It's the person that's going to be at the front window that's accepting that. And because times doing things in a very fast way and dealing with, you may make the mistake and not be until, and I think I see a lot less of that happening now. Our staff in place than they were 6 months ago, right? I mean, we have a couple that, really started of 2024, right? Or
Right.
2023,
One,
23,
yeah.
yeah. And so, it's understood way so much going on with it. And I don't want to use that as a crutch on this, but the fact is we're trying to move to get people taken care of and you're going to miss.
All right, that's fine right now. I just think, like I was talking, procedure is they need to understand right up front what the procedure is, and easier in public.
Sure.
So there's just think about that,
Sure.
and then bring how to communicate better. So
Sure.
it just makes your job easier.
Sure.
If John's smiling, the public's smiling. Tony, yes.
Just because we
And John.
brought up the iterative process as it goes back and forth, and I don't think we're necessarily having that problem as much now as maybe it was before. But I got lots of complaints about they would bring it in, they would need something, they go back that second time, they should be complaining. Obviously, that was a big problem in the past.
The big difference is we need to understand it's different now, and that's what they need to understand. And if we can, like I said, make your job easier so people understand when they come in, they know best how to do that. And if they can think about this, make your job easier. And like I said, you're happy, everybody's happy.
every major system deals with incomplete, inaccurate data. So if you allow bad data in the system or partial data, you're going to still have a problem. So you need to push that back to the front door so that when you come in, you know, have to run everybody through the electronic side. That way it solves your. We need to deploy. If they need to put it in, they can sit there and do that and somebody can help them. But the point being is, if you guys continually have to go back and start and stop, you're wasting a lot of manpower recycling the data, where we need to try to streamline that.
Well, no, that's a good idea. Kiosks have a couple of them.
I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole here about process. for it, but I think okay.
Okay. So my next slide here is code enforcement and the cases. We broke it down to obviously the verbal, the citation cases. Really go into these numbers like this, but now notice of violations, we had 225. From October 2024 through January, which is your black numbers. Verbal, he is given 112. Notice of violations, 83. Citations, 22. Open cases, 55. Closed cases, 61. Red tags and working without permits, 112. And 51 pending cases. The next slide is I put here because I put a screen look like and how to use them. Of which 20 have been issued since October 1st through current. This 2-page application, along with all 8, if applicable, documents are required for review, along with the meeting of zoning requirements. Fire inspection and building can review, inspection, and issuance. The applicant has. It isn't likely, however, but unforeseen circumstances may occur. The fire inspector or the building official, if they're unavailable, it pushes it out a little bit. So we try to get these out as quickly as possible and get their businesses up and running. But sometimes things happen, and so it pushes it back a bit. The next slide is our zoning. Had 3 rezonings and 3 future land use amendments. The city is also actively working on the land comp plan. The next slide is the revenue. So this one is interesting. I have it broken down by numbers. I don't think I need to go through those numbers at this time, but I do have those in my slide on the notes. But just to give you an idea of where we are permits. So permits for last year completely was $368,861. And the permits from October 1st through January of this year. And of course, that's not charging her.
That if you have more than one business in a building, do they each require separate?
They do.
So to that point, if you run rate your number, your 98K, 4, because that's 3 months, or 4 months. So that's the story.
That's
the
what
so
that was
what.
showing.
Okay.
That's what I was trying, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the next slide. These are projects that the building department is working on. We had a meeting with Brad Cornelius from Wade Trim, who had originally done our zoning map many years ago. And we've received 1 proposal already from him to redo. But the zoning map is something that we need to correct. The second thing was a meeting is scheduled to decide development project Old Post Road. I wrote the parcel number there. It's pretty, but we will have discussions tomorrow.
The Wiener Roast out there.
Yeah. The first PPI meeting, which includes and Port Richey stakeholders, was held on January 20th. A second meeting will be scheduled. The date has not been determined as of yet, but I will keep you posted. Number 4, knowing the importance of meetings and she will get us a proposal of what that could be for her services. Number 5, the hurricane outreach to address count site. This ongoing effort aims to ensure that the community has access and up-to-date resources for preparedness, helping residents stay informed about hurricane preparedness, safety measures, and available assistance. The website will serve as a central hub for all such information, ensuring easy access to the public. So everything will, right, getting all that information to residents. So I don't know how the city wants to handle that, if you know, but
So I think, you know, you have to look at it from kind of a multi-media approach. I mean, obviously, information is during the train people as we're finding out, training our own people. Emergency, so maybe in out and try to send more about the things in terms of, and you know, once you have the damage, what do you do? Obviously, but this is permits and all those other things. So trying to get, again, from a multi company is putting together as part of the PPI will be available or sent out to the residents. And I think, you know, another really haven't explored, we started before actually Sky more so than an emergency because they without power. And that first of
put out a hurricane book, right? We put the city does one, the one that we create is an 8-page booklet that we mail out to everyone. But they have a book that year we are very prepared. But a QR code, they're willing to give us QR codes so that we can mail out to our residents that links them into Pasco's. I mean, I know when I first started, it was difficult for me to access Pasco County. I didn't know where to go because it's just so much information on their website. So I think us mailing it out to our residents is something that's going to be beneficial. Continue letter information is in one location and it's right, you know, you could do it on a cell phone, you know. So I think that's going to be helpful too.
Just something real quick, if there could be some kind of incentive to check residents that actually did all this stuff, you know, that they're doing it and the people aren't. That a lot of people will do that, and that's great that we're doing that. Yeah. But we need to somehow, you know, you got to do this and have some kind of people do that. Make it easier on you guys.
Is the hurricane and disaster outreach things will be straight in the city is going to work on. Again, it's not something that's going to happen in 2 weeks, but it is something that we realize that we have to start working on and start moving versus, like you had mentioned earlier, throwing it out. Emergency contacts, it's expanding. Expand on. So the emergency contacts for the residents is and storm surge zones. That's something that I know we high step. I know we do have that, but maybe expanding it a little bit more and making it a little bit more clear for residents is something that we can work on. Local resources. That's a big one. You know, where is FEMA today? Where is this? You know, this that can help. Don't have that. So remind. Brief mention of checking insurance policies for hurricane coverage for those new people coming into our city that are not familiar with hurricanes or not. Workshops, getting them included, figuring out what is it that they want to see. Of damages, but having the preparedness as a community everyone involved is critical, right, to making this open to doing those throughout the year as well. And expo. So last year we did two. We did Newport Richey had an expo and Pasco County did an expo, of which we both attended both. It went out. And so I think doing those things will help us.
I actually found out about that.
And it was good.
Do they always host that over there at that?
So Safety Town is where it was hosted last year. We talked about this before the TPI meeting. That's something, but I think it's fitting for what we're doing and that particular town. I think Safety Town is the best bet. I recommended that they keep it there. And so chances are this year it's going to be there. Because they're looking into more vendors. And so far, from the information I received, is it's going to still.
One they had over at the rec center.
Oh, that's Newport Richey.
But we had fire truck stuff at that too.
We had stuff there
That
as
was strictly
well.
just for them.
Yeah. Went to both, yeah. And so about some goodies and stuff. So improvement, right? On that bit in this department for the staff that we have. So that's my PowerPoint.
Any questions? Substantially damaged, is that still accurate number?
105.
Or 5? And just
50%.
and so just for the public,
They can relocate the house, lift the house, or demo the house.
and there's a time frame attached to the demo.
It's like
to that, I know the county is providing those. If a person is going to demo it, the county's actually paying for that. Did we ever get any update on?
So to touch on that, that's something we did discuss and we did bring up. I emailed FEMA as to what
I didn't know if
Mr. Koppler may have more information.
Through category A, do that. And what we've been trying to do, because that's how they. Okay, what is that process? So we make sure that if we do it, we're going to get reimbursed.
Right.
And that's
County, and I did speak to 3 different people, and they unfortunately didn't access that. But I've had the same issue, and we have the same concerns. They're paying taxes to the county. Why are they not entitled to these funds anyway? And I wasn't able to on that. Reach out.
So, Tony, you mentioned those 3 options that the residents have. How many of those have the option to come in who have been assessed of what the damage is? Or
all they have to do is come in if it's been done by the street. Yeah.
No, I get that.
Because I've been doing those now as it is
Right,
too.
right. Because, hey, you shoot a flare across the bow and get somebody's attention.
Yep.
And that's why I wanted to bring
Yes.
it up here. So people that are listening really what do I do? And we want to say, hey, come in and talk to you guys, look at the situation, because FEMA may have assessed the damage from the driver's seat of a vehicle by driving by or knocking on a door.
I just had 2.
Perfect example.
That were both over 50%.
And they
when
went,
I went out and did them,
they came
seen
down.
everything. They're down. One's at 40-some%, and the other one was at 28%.
That's the point I wanted to
Yes.
reference. Where the city is trying to help those estimate of greater than 50%, where it has been assessed without somebody actually putting eyes on the subject.
That's correct.
And now,
Keep in
by
mind-
you guys coming in and doing that, we're somebody tile floor, and they estimated it was
25% of structure.
No kidding.
Yes. I
It's
couldn't
not
believe it at
cheap.
first.
I can't believe
25%.
I can't hardly believe that.
Even if
Also,
it's
keep in
tile.
mind that those damage assessments were done off the high water mark, right?
Okay.
So that's what starts the assessment. So until they come in and they start having conversations with us and telling us, getting a contractor or doing it as a home builder, we're not gonna know that.
All right.
So
So
yeah.
that's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation, because it puts it out there, lets people know that, hey, if you got a situation, you need to come in and talk, and you guys will look at the situation and give.
Have you deemed substantially damaged? Did you have any of those where you actually, that you could think of?
I think maybe one. Maybe one.
And if you top of your head, how many has came in able to keep under?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to say probably about 10 or 15.
Because I'd be interested to
Yeah, 'cause
know
like
about
the
that
one,
one. But
the one that I had, the one that I'm thinking of that was closed but was still under, when I went back in and redid it, I found foundation problems down through the center of the house. House is starting to sink now.
which is really valuable information to know.
Yes. So you, because of the,
Also, need to understand that every house is going to get an assessment. And if you don't engage the city, that assessment is probably you'd expect it to be, because it's a straight calculation of 64. Probably, and that's actually low compared to all the other areas around us. So if they over 30%, more likely than not letting us in your home and that, because it can only help you for the most part. And if it does go the other way, it's probably because it needs to go the other way. Like you said, foundation problem
Is already run. So that's the date of the time frame?
Yeah.
After the assessment. Perfect, okay. Good information.
I just wanted to thank Tony for sticking with us, because I can't think of a worse time to start as a building official than you started in our city and our whole city's history. So
If there's a good
thanks
time
for
to start as a
sticking
building
with us.
official, this wasn't it.
Crash course, yes. Good job.
Stick around for us.
no, I'm here to do my job.
We appreciate it. Any other questions for?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate the help. I know you guys are going through a lot over there, and obviously anything you do to make things better for the residents, that's great. But I know it's a tough job. We appreciate it. Okay, next up, comments from the boards and committees. Anything from your end?
No.
Oh. From the city Centennial Committee, we've moved our meetings to weekly, because there's just a whole lot of work to be done for that, which is right around the corner. We just met today, and we've pretty much solidified February, so we should be good. Obviously, next week we'll get some more of the further on details, but things are starting to come together. An idea of the amount of money we've brought in from sponsorships, it was just under 27,000. Is that correct, Mr. Thompson? $24,000 from Walmart that should be coming in. So it should be about just under 27,000. That doesn't count the in-kind contributions that free totals. That was probably more than that, didn't it? Oh, okay. So yeah, and also that I don't have the commitment other than they're going to sponsor some portion of it from Ryan Burke is going to do the golf scramble. So we've done very well from a sponsorship perspective, and so with that. Got 40,000 budgeted for the city event, and it's not really 40,000 because that's assuming some sponsorships coming in. So I'm not sure what the real number is, but obviously we need to make a decision relatively quickly on what we're going to do from a 4th of July perspective. There's some things around with the company we used before, but we need to think about soon. Yeah.
You think it's sparklers?
What's that?
You think it's sparklers?
Well, Matt had a throw down snaps. We got several of those and just let everybody throw them down at once. Look like a comment. See, now I put the vote all in favor, signify by saying, look like a comment. See, now I put the vote all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have the second part of that, which is the zoning, is a quasi-judicial hearing, which is handled a little differently. And as I pass that to a city attorney, she'll explain those items.
Okay, so quasi-judicial procedures, this is city council acts quasi-judicial rather than already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, council is required by law to make findings on the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those finding of fact to the previously established criteria. Hearing, the law considers to the relevant evidence at the hearing to demonstrate the applicant has met the law to find the applicant that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the code. Council is required by law to find against the applicant. Has any member of council had any ex parte communications with the applicant regarding the rezoning application? Seeing none.
So I believe I had a conversation with, and I sorry, I don't have your name. I believe it's you. Recent, but did you spoke a long time ago when they first
Okay. Does on council with the
no.
Okay. Time for any. It won't hurt. I promise.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And
Okay, so now I'm going to invite staff to present. Okay. You're on the podium. Floor is yours.
Tonight at this, this is the first reading.
yeah, the second time we've read it, but
Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm getting. Oh, hearings. There are three. They're in the southwest corner of River Gold land use category from residential res to CMU. And you can see from the aerial shot, and then you can also see the extent of residential and the extent of commercial, which is the red area within the city. The yellow is the residential, the red is the commercial mixed use. And here's an aerial view a little closer to the subject parcels with a view of the surrounding neighborhood. So part of the evaluation, we look at the existing land uses in the area as reported by the property appraiser's office, the database there. We also look at future land use and we look at zoning. To the east are residential in nature, also some residential municipal. The properties themselves, I've numbered them 1, 2, and 3 on the first is vacant residential. The second, I guess it's the commercial general, which is the purple area. Character of the area, so you'll see the black dot is the subject parcels, but on Chapel Avenue, all the way from above Lorenzen Road, all the way down to residential. It's all residential. It's all residential. And this is a picture of some new residential infill within the neighborhood, representing new investment within the area. And this property lies on Queener Street, which is about 160 So under the future land use category, to 17 units per acre, and of course that's always modified by your zoning. The res category also allows professional office or some non-residential uses up to 10,672 square feet would be allowed on this property at the 0.98 acres. And then under the commercial mixed use, you would still be able to achieve that 17 units because the density is the same for both of those categories. And then the non-res, and the goal of the future land use element is to promote compatible land use. The policy below observe your existing compatible land uses, existing land use patterns. And the other say similar things, enhance, make sure neighborhoods are preserved. So in our compatibility analysis to determine if this request there with existing predominantly residential neighborhood, it would be introduction use. The compatibility with the development pattern and and I've forgotten how wide they are, 60 foot wide or 55 foot wide. In this particular instance, you would have a development that would span 3 residential lots. So that pattern would be broken up because you wouldn't have that single family pattern. You'd have a big frontage facing the road. And then compatibility with, for purposes of potentially having adverse effects, do introduce, especially residential, which have noise, light, and can impact property values because of the introduction of to amend the future land use map to allow commercial uses, as the proposed amendment is inconsistent with the adopted goals objectives of the City of Comprehensive official zoning map to change a general commercial district. This is the same aerial view. This one shows the lot sizes and dimensions. So you've got lot 1 at the top, 0.52 acres, lot 2, 0.23 acres, and lot 3, 0.23 acres, and then the dimensions, as you can see. These are just some photos of the structure. Still, those 2 structures have the structure. The old store laundromat was taken down by the city per unsafe family units, but 8 family units, but 8 two-family units could be accommodated on this site. Under the general commercial category, you could have up to the 17 commercial category, you could have up to the 17 and then also that same 27,700 one. The applicant is looking to do, it's very important, the applicant is looking to do, it's very important, the applicant is looking to do RV and boat storage in an outdoor arrangement with some type of a covered structure, and then also with fencing. Some type of a covered structure, and then also with fencing. You be asked is if the applicant would be amenable to restricting the development through of restricted uses agreed upon at the meeting. So that's the way we
transfer, and that would transfer if they pass sold.
Yes, it stays with the property.
There we go. So as part of the land development code, there's 19 different criteria that is required to be evaluated when a rezoning is conducted. And the criteria that's in yellow are the ones that were of concern relative to compatibility of the commercial use in a predominantly residential setting. The existing land use pattern, of course, is an encroachment of a different use, the commercial use, into residential. Adverse effects on living conditions in the area that could be produced by traffic. And this analysis was done, of course, the commercial categories. Ability to improve or develop adjacent property prepared if people feel that they don't want to necessarily improve next to a commercial use when they have a residential property. And then dropping all the way bottom, an important one, is this consistent with the comprehensive plan? And as we saw in the last category, or the last presentation, the same picture as last time. And so for this analysis, or this request for the rezoning, staff's recommendation is to deny this request to rezone the subject part. That, if you have any questions of me, otherwise we can.
Okay, so first up is the question staff. Any question?
The planner.
No, not really. I think I had resubmitted the email asking about the.
But if you can speak, I need to get your microphone.
You know, the park under the overhangs, which you brought up.
So he asked if there was an agreement that the art could have a part of the use, that would be a typical structure, accessory use, RV storage and boat storage. So we said yes.
So next, turn over to council. You can have questions for staff.
So with this, and we haven't decided anything yet.
No, this is questions for staff.
The restrictions that planning.
So either the current owners to come back through the city.
Want to do something to still have to come. Okay. And do we have any ability to revoke it?
Yes.
If they're not compliant with particular parts.
I don't. I'll read and let you know that in a moment.
I thought I saw that in the
Correct.
Yes.
Correct it within
Yes.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a very
Notification that this, which means, if we say fix it and they should be working, the city can proceed whatever legal remedies are needed, which could be revoking of this or even other legal remedies.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other outdoor you see?
Procedurally,
Yeah, the request for the structure came in this week, and staff, Tammy and staff and I have talked about it. So I think the question is best given to the applicant, though, because we don't know exactly what his proposal is. Okay. So yeah, it's probably better. I don't think Tammy knows much more than.
Yeah.
So
for him.
Yeah. So give us a second. We'll get there in just a second. And now I can turn over. Does the applicant have any presentation they want to speak? And obviously questions are different. Do you have anything you want to present?
With the application that I needed to present, I just need to, answer the question about the carport.
Well, we'll get to that. So you have no presentation. All right. So now, staff, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do not.
Okay. And now, council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Now's your time.
So what exactly is it that you want to put up?
Like earlier, after we had it on, I just would ask that we could add carport structures like they have at outdoor RV storage facilities. They're basically just metal barred sides and then just flat roof, hurricane cover, so that you can put an RV or a boat and it gets out of the elements.
Are they
not enclosed walls? Yes, they would be up to code, hurricane rated. We would be applying for permits to get all that corrected. Barn structure with the poles and stuff to it. Again, everything that we would want to do there would be coming through these meetings or visiting with Veronica and asking through permits or however it needs to be done correctly. I'm not going to go out there and just start building stuff and then hope you guys are okay with it later. So that's all that I asked to be added to what we currently talked about. Would be cover everyone that's storing stuff out there to keep their stuff out of the elements.
I'm going to open a public hearing comment, and keep in mind, public comment is going to be for both. I'm going to open a public hearing comment, and keep in mind, public comment is going to be for both the future land use, which is a legislative action, and the quasi-judicial action. So relatively the same thing. So I'm opening public comment for that now. Public comment? Anybody online to comment on that? Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, I'm offering the applicant an opportunity to make a closing statement. Did you want a closing statement?
Is that where I asked this question?
On this particular.
No, I have nothing else.
Thank you.
And staff, would you like to make a closing statement?
I do not.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to bring it back to council consideration for the land use map change, which is a legislative action.
It's ordinance number 25709, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan and future land use map to redesignate parcel number 32251602800110000200 231. Well, hold on. Parcel and then parcel ID number 3211000230 and parcel ID 32251602800110000231 containing 0.98 acres more or less from residential mixed use and providing an effective date.
Familiar with the area, we've all seen the area. I think I think we need to look at that area even past this, because I think the vision obviously would be at some point as we would kind of be the downtown strip that leads onto our waterfront. So I think we need to look at that whole area, which is in desperate need of redevelopment, if you're familiar with the area. And so I'm obviously for commercial use, and the reason that I am for that is side, and I think that corridor, I think it would make sense to even carry that all the way down that side. And again, we have buffering requirements, and that would be a street that would provide even additional buffering across from that. But as you get on Grand Boulevard, it would probably be, and keeping in mind, you don't want to lose the residential stuff either, but with commercial 3, you do residential as well. So, but you also could, commercial mixed use where you have shops, coffee shops, whatever on the bottom, people live. And I think that would help that area more in that area, and what was left of the residential on the other areas there would help build it up. So I'm definitely for the commercial mixed use from a land use. This restriction is for the zone. It doesn't do with the commercial, the future land use. The future land use is just before you could change the zoning to commercial. So from a land use perspective, the legislative action, like I said, I could see that it probably should go beyond this actually, but again, I think we need at some point in the future to look at that land use plan as we look at there, and it could use some investment. So that's my thoughts on the land.
Property every day. And I'm all for development. And I think, certain areas, as long as it's developed properly, would enhance the area. However, as far as RV and boat storage, those roads aren't built for that there. And the neighbors have a lot of mixed feelings over there, and they got a lot of justified reasons why they would prefer not to have that. Not only have a large area to be able to pull in and out large boats and RVs, the buffer zone is a requirement there with residential everywhere. I don't see it feasible. And like I said, the roads are not adequate for that type of a business there. I'm willing to do anything to help these people out to make money. I'm all for that. I think anybody should be able to do what they want with their property. Someone told me that once before, but that's why we have zoning, and that's why we do what we do here. I just want to say, I just don't feel the roads are adequate for that type of a business. That's all.
Yeah, I will just to make you aware, in case you weren't thinking along these lines, is that because obviously if you're jumping ahead to the zoning change with the restrictions of just that becomes a different animal. But from a future land use, commercial doesn't restrict that. It just makes it commercial, and so those uses may not be those uses if that as you change that future land use.
Use has been presented. That's all.
Again, this is a legislative action on the future land use
commercial mixed use, which could have a residential land use perspective.
That's where you're the boss.
I'm not the boss. I just try to be transparent with the information so you make a good decision. Any other comments on the future land use motion?
So we're just looking at the future land use divorced from the fact that we want to look at zoning next, right?
Correct.
That's correct. They're two totally separate
items. All right.
They go together. They have to go together.
Right, you have to
In
change
this
the
case.
land use first before you
That's
can
correct.
apply a change of zone.
Right. But you could agree to change the land use today and not give the zoning change.
That's correct.
But if you change the land use to C3 or mixed commercial mixed use,
On that list.
all those things on that list apply without a restriction.
If the zoning changes without restrictions.
Yeah.
So, in case you didn't understand that, if this is passed and it becomes commercial mixed use, and the second one is denied, it's just commercial bank. From a future perspective, it could be that there would have to be another subsequent zoning request to actually change it to match the future land use. But until that does,
So
it
it's still
exists as a
going to be
residential.
R1.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's basically two incompatible things. Somebody's going to have to do some action in the future.
You can't rezone to something that the future doesn't allow.
Right. Gotcha.
Are you proud of me, Tammy? I'm trying to really show my planning knowledge. But,
There's so many things I could say, but I will.
okay, no. We'll talk later.
I'm sure that'll come up in conversation.
Says deny this.
Right.
Yes.
Staff's recommendation is to deny it based on it doesn't meet some of the things that she had pointed out.
That they disagree and found that because, and it's in your ordinance, that some of the properties nearby were commercial, and that kind of made them view that a little bit differently and didn't find it as inconsistent as staff did. And then the address in the zoning that helped planning and zoning make their determination.
Here's an
Staff still
observation.
recommends denial.
Here's an audience. We didn't have any problem with this going. The second piece of this is now when they defined what they were wanting to do. Planning and zoning talked about changing the ingress and egress from a different point, from River Gulf instead of Chapel. And then the third thing would be we didn't have any conversation, or they didn't have any conversation or awareness of carports or covers or that kind of thing. So that's an element that was added after the fact. So those are the three things I'm kind of keying off of there to whatever benefit. And it sounds like
Opinion on this. I draft documents. City staff has recommended that that should be denied because it's not consistent. Planning
right.
and zoning made a different
But
ruling.
you guys had a
talking about the word
conversation
covers.
about the covers.
Oh, the covers?
And indicated
Yes.
that was consistent with an RV
Yes.
area.
Yes.
So
yes. Sorry, I thought you.
yeah.
I don't make any opinion on these things. So yeah, yes. But I spoke to the planner, and she structure would be fine.
And that's her opinion.
Yes, in her
Okay.
opinion.
Gotcha. Thank you. So now, so this is
There's no more discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the future land use category to a, what is it? See, commercial mixed use.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second? If there's no second,
And I will remind you that second lets you talk about it. Does it mean you have to?
yeah,
Ultimately
you don't
agree.
have to vote for it if you know.
The second just allows you to continue
Or-
to talk and take the vote. Or if you don't wish to second, the motion dies and the request is denied.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second. So a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
conversation going. Obviously, there's some resistance on making this change. So, can we, other than obviously staff has some concerns, and we can walk through those concerns as well if you want, to try to come to some kind of agreement one way or another.
Well, isn't that the next question, is to make sure that we've got the restrictions right?
Well, I can tell you this: if this fails,
Nothing happens.
Four
the next
goes away.
Yeah, yeah.
The only way 4 gets discussed and changing it to commercial. There's no rezoning to commercial. So I guess my question would be, I would have seconded if I had the opportunity. I would have passed the gavel to second it if I would have had the opportunity. Unfortunately, I don't. Again, I think we need to make some changes over there, and this is the start of that. And I think I have other comments about the quasi. I'll say it gets to the point. But from a land use perspective, I think would the area that could come in the future would go through a process, right, where it would be vetted through planning and zoning and council. But right now, that area is, I mean, if you look across the street from it, it's vacant. There is a house being built towards the end of that parcel, I believe. It hasn't been built yet, but it's relatively vacant lots all the way around it. And it's actually, the property itself is not all that beautiful. It's got existing fence posts and whatnot there, and it's just it's kind of blight over there. I mean, just to be honest. So I think we would do ourselves some favor to look at changing that for the potential that it might bring in something transformational.
Well, possibly something, but what's presented is not adequate.
Discussion about the actual zoning and restrictions, but this is just, redesignate that parcel as commercial mixed use, not the parcel, but the future land use of that parcel. And if you don't, it stays residential. It's been residential for a long time, and nothing's happening. And I don't think many people are enticed to build a house over there in the state that area is in. Not that it's anything bad. I mean, people live different places and have different incomes and all that. But again, these are the type of these future land use changes can stimulate growth, can stimulate action. If it opens up, you give some additional fuel to fuel that engine.
Well, we don't have much residential property left in the city. Actually, excellent residential property because it's above the floodplain.
Mm-hmm. So, any other comments?
Of course I do. We're encroaching on residential again. You know how keep looking. And yeah, you do. And what you're saying about with that is, I feel you change this. You don't have a big picture. You have a puzzle. Our city piece that you want to change. No idea what the rest of the piece is going to fit into that puzzle. So by using what you were saying is, yes, I understand that, and I'm all for that. But when you start piecemealing it, you don't get it. So I that's why I have a problem with that. It's all a block away. The staff says, Tammy said, we paid her for her professional opinion. That would stuff looks like it's crap. It doesn't look nice. It doesn't look conjoined. It doesn't look like a well thought out plan. It looks like, oh, well, they put that there. Oh, well, they put that there. Oh, no, look at that. That doesn't fit over there. I hesitate. I love it. But that you know, keep putting commercial, you keep taking residential away. Nobody wants to live next to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. So what we're not helping develop that area into.
That's why I said, and piecemealing, they're here before us now to
I understand.
so it's kind of like,
But that doesn't mean we have to say yes,
no, we could say no and we could change it later. It's
including their process.
and I would definitely say that we should look at that overall. And my stop there, but continue down that back side first block because there's I don't know the shape it's in.
But that's what Linda just said. You're trying to wipe out.
Then wipe out. So let me change that whole side. This is the future conversation, but if we change that whole side to commercial mixed use, okay, from a future land use perspective, that doesn't mean that house on the corner goes away. They residential house unless they. So
You know, Chapel is not a main thoroughfare. It's a residential street. So, at a main, that's my term, not yours. In making main drag, that's that. There's you have to go off Grand to get to that.
no, and what I'm thinking much bigger picture than these individual main drags or whatever. We have Grand Boulevard, which would be the main drag, and as you look at Grand Boulevard, can we pull that map back up? If you're traveling north, all of that is commercial 3. Side, which is relatively undeveloped, up in that upper quadrant. As you go down, it becomes more dense. So, and when I think big picture, I go to places and as I'm coming down Grand Boulevard, a little more traffic or whatever. In smaller cities, quite 3 from a zoning perspective opens up a lot of things, right? Again, it's in order to make certain things. From a future land use, I don't see where we're making necessarily a bad choice, because I think if we look at it overall in the future, we may come to that agreement, we may not. But if you think that if you're kind of thinking where I'm thinking, then maybe this is a good segue into that. We don't necessarily stop with this property, although we could, and even if it's because it is a corner, future land use that corner, resident think some ability to stimulate some stuff there. Now again, depending on what goes there, that's all.
We can't do anything with the waterfront district for 25 years.
Hold on to your britches.
Well, 25 years. Okay, so we have one project. Lisa has heard me say this many times over the time. I want to finish one project before. But if you start another project when we haven't even started the first project,
right.
that's just guilt. Needs to be. Dave sat in the audience and watched the whole thing, and nothing is done. Do one thing at a time.
Well, right. And so we are in the process right now it will be done this year is fixing that intersection at Grand Boulevard so it is golf cart approved to make that connection. As we look to the future of what previously happened, where we've increased on there, doing anything there, but waiting for them to bring forth plans. So I think that's taking care of itself. We're in hodgepodge over there, potential fire department change lots is for, but it ain't going to happen if there's no incentive to invest there. If it's so, that's I'm really thinking much bigger picture about the water. I'm thinking that could possibly go simultaneously. Think about it, as that develops, while that's being developed, if somebody else comes in, or even the same developer, and they start to look at ways to connect that, you can really have something transformational happen in not just the waterfront, but up Grand Boulevard. And as we talk about bringing the suit to two cities, where Newport Richey has a vibrant downtown that you can't. Those restaurants and all that, and if you with what we have, and you get that traffic going, I mean that's kind of my big picture. Visit their downtown, our waterfront, coming down historic Grand. I mean, the possibilities are astronomical, and so I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about tomorrow, and next year, year after that, and I want to unlock capability.
I said that to you a long time. For a town to wait for time for things to move and businesses to change and then bring in. So the commercial land mixed use, I agree, that has to be in there at some point to make that happen. But that part of our connection to the river and all that, it's not going to turn fast, and it's not going to do any good to put the wrong things in there.
That's correct.
So I don't necessarily have a problem with the commercial mixed use, but I have problems with things that are going on that aren't going to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things to consider, and I think Eric mentioned this before, is you have vacant land that really doesn't do anybody any good. So you're waiting for those events to move forward or move the thing. The use to allow them to park things on it and collect some kind of rental stream. That may be a short-term thing, maybe a long-term thing, but at the end of the day, somebody's going to find a better agree with you on this is a vision that we need to move forward. Grand Boulevard and back from that, I think that does need to be a town area. I think this one generating revenue for the owner and some revenue for the city as well while we're waiting for that time to come along. So it's kind of a necessary evil to continue to move forward. Is the way I see it.
Yeah.
I have a problem.
What was it, Matt? After I'll give you 4 after.
If I could, but I'll try to be. I think in this discussion, the word planning throughout the window, because if you allow this, you're not planning. It's not planning, because
right.
What planning is putting together a plan and then following that of it.
Right.
And, I've been here a year plus. I've heard a lot of different people say that could be our downtown. Well, all you have is a lot of people saying, well, it could be the downtown. Well, what does that look like? What are the elements? Out Newport Richey, I have facts to support this, but I'm probably pretty close, that that, you know, what you consider their downtown, they probably planned that it should mix and then start to advise people to achieve that. So, you know, advise any. We don't have a plan. And let me just say that you know, I hearken back to a short time ago when you approved a zone change from residential to, again, commercial mixed use. And the interesting, I mean, not interesting, our that change. And why did she recommend that change? Because there's already an intrusion of commercial into the residential. So my guess is this parcel comes in, what your recommendation is, because we've already broken that you know, commercial to change, you know, land use. It's have asked me about this, that it could be that is the best use for those properties to go commercial. But what is the plan? You know, what is the vision? What is it you're trying to achieve? Because you can't achieve anything. What's the quote from Alice in Wonderland? You know, I don't know where I'm going. Well, then this road will take you there. Exactly. Sorry. That's the problem when you, because, you know, the argument is, well, this will get us to where we're going. Well, where are we going? Well, we're going somewhere.
Thank you.
And that's the concern I have here. The end result of that could be, or is the right, but minus that planning process that you need to go through as a community, divorce yourself from the term planning, because and again, you can do that, but at some point, why is that there? Because I've been in a lot of communities. It's there because you allowed it to be there, and you didn't give the thought to it.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Very valid point. But yeah, so why it's not planning per se, it's a vision, and the planning process would and I think we need to plan that. I think we need to look at it very, very soon, so that can happen. So you know, all this does is delay what I think is the inevitable. Is we need to, because it's been residential all this time, and it had a dilapidated building on it that got removed, and so now it's an empty lot. There's empty lots all around it. We can wait and wait and plan it all out. In a perfect world, plans are right, but you make decisions and you move forward on them. I don't think we're because again, I think at the end of the day, I think we're going to find that this is a very well probably the best way to stimulate that area. And I'll add one more point. The residential that's there now, their backyard is commercial mixed use. Okay, and so your back by the fence and whatever the buffer requirements is, right? Whereas across the street, you have a street and depending on what happens there, again, I just use the example. If I'm living across the street, building my house like the person is, and 10 years from now, somebody puts a commercial mixed use building in there and they have a coffee shop and they look across that, it's convenience for those residents around there. They can have some things that they don't have to travel down 19. Again, I don't know what the future holds, but I know what the future holds for residential, and there's vacant lots there and buildings are getting torn down, and it's you know, I think the time to act on this was well before my term started. So
If I may, the applicant wanted to say something. You guys are in discussion and past that point. If you want to allow him to make his statement, you need to make sure Tammy gets a chance to make a statement and go back to public
Yeah,
comment,
is there-
or you can say.
I don't have a problem opening up. Come. You had something you wanted to add? See, now you wish you had a presentation.
I don't really need a presentation. So one thing I didn't want to bring up is, so the gentleman that came last time for the council meeting, he didn't buy the lot across the street from our lot on Chapel Road until after we buildings down, cleaning and all the money we did to get it looking nice. Because and everybody else that you guys all know that's from around here hung out for years. He didn't buy. The only reason he bought that lot is because I cleaned up this lot. So when I hear people saying it's the value in this, I don't know if that's necessarily true, because you sold a lot off Chapel that sat there overgrown and vacant, just like our lots have for years, and we cleaned our lot up. Number two, storefront, I guess is what you would call it for us asking to do this store, just be on River Gulf. There would be no access off Chapel for people to get in and out or in the neighborhood with boats or anything like that. It's the existing entrance that's already there between the fire department and our lot where the laundromat used to sit. So I don't see how that's affecting traffic on the other road there. Last thing, the canopies and the car, that not a, I understand that's an eyesore out there, so it's probably not something that you guys want if you do decide to do this. So that was just an ask. That's not a deal. The other, that lot has sat vacant for so long. My family, they've owned it since before I even met my wife 20 plus years ago. My daughter will be 15 this year. Boat taken care of, and now it is being taken care of, but it's got to generate income for our family. I mean, we spent money knocking the one building down, then the other building down, getting it cleaned up. So we're asking that it be storage. I mean, even if we can work out something where we can be temporary restriction on storage, you guys got 2.5 years to generate income as a storage unit. And then after that, we have to come back in here and decide, are we going to do something like, in my brain, I see that place being something like a Star or a farmer's market or something where people drive from downtown on their golf carts to take pictures on Instagram. They start coming from Ruskin, they start coming from wherever, and it's a destination point. So kind of like what you're saying, I mean, we're just trying to get started to find a means to an end. But we have to generate income in order for us to have the funds to be able to get to that point, to be able to do that. So, I mean, that's just the last of what I got to say. I mean, our family's not in a situation where I can just pull $6 million in capital out of my butt and build a 17-unit apartment complex over there. It's just not going to happen. So, but anyways, that's all I got to say, and I'll leave it at that.
So, now, Tammy, you have any questions for?
Or if she wants to say, make any comments.
Or make any comments?
I don't think so. I can't think of what I could say in absence.
Public comment. Any public comment? Matt, welcome. She good. Public comment.
Oh, okay.
We're finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Pat Rogers, 4830. Now, I own a house on the corner of Queener and close to this property. From the fire department on the corner of Grand to the church on the corner of Washington, there's approximately, as close as I can remember, 3 residential properties on the east side of Chapel between the corner and the church. So consideration needs to be given for the owners of those properties too, to consider the best possible land use. And, you know, commercial may be the way to go, but we need to make sure that it's compatible with the neighborhood, and we need to make sure that the people who live across the street on River Gulf aren't seriously impacted.
Thank you.
With this gentleman, what's your
Name it.
Sorry, Christine Sullivan, 7808 Weber Lane.
Mr. Daly, Ryan Daly.
Ryan Daly, after what he just said, that kind of made sense. Now, if you approved this first part for this commercial, he then has an opportunity, even you could go in next and not approve the boat thing. But maybe he could come up with something else that as a resident, he could generating some revenue off of that property, commercial, or some investor. You know, if it kind of sounds like it's not looking good for the boat idea, but if at least this part goes through, then he doesn't have to go through that part again to decide what he will do with that property, and then he has a future as a businessman here in Port Richey. So something to think about.
Thank you. Anyway, the property values. Again, I don't think you can go any lower. I don't think you can impact property values anywhere but up with whatever it is. I street to a vacant lot, and I'm not saying it's a vacant lot, right? It's all the other stuff around. It's not just a vacant lot, but you take all the big picture, and something gets developed there, like a cafe. That's not going to hurt my property value because this car is going to come in there. I think it's going to enhance the property value because, again, I don't think you can go anywhere but up in that area. So I think, and that's why, as I respectfully disagree with staff's public comment on that. Sorry. Respectfully disagree with that, but I think that, again, I think this would stimulate that area. Again, I'm to get to the next discussion. I have great discussion on item 4 that I hope to get to, but for future land use, this narrow scope. I mean, I think we'd be doing ourselves a favor to start, unlock this, then start to, and hopefully, and this could get something going. So I'll rest my comments. So, is there anything else you guys like to add? If not, I'll call a roll call vote on this because I think it's going to be relatively close. So,
well, one thing I wanted to bring up that Pat brought up was this property was public noticed. There's been signs posted on that property, so all the neighbors had an opportunity to come in and comment.
That's
there
exactly
was
right.
one person that showed up, and he was in favor of it. So, to that end,
and nobody's here, and this is information that's very pertinent.
Yeah.
Nobody's here standing out. Got no phone calls on it. I don't. You got nobody's said anything about it. So, I rest well at night in the decisions that I make.
Well, I agree with everybody here, if that helps. I agree with him and Matt. Got a point. Entrances off of River Road helps a lot. But if he intends to do what he's talking about doing, which this is not what this whole meeting's about, but that's what was presented, I want to see a whole lot of creativity to make it look more residential than commercial for the time being anyway, because it is in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Basically, a lot of fascia, maybe it looked like an apartment building.
And we'll get to that if we get to the next one.
But they'll get to that later. But I do believe something needs to be done with the property and something needs to be done over there. So,
any comments before I call the roll call?
Entrance off River Gulf is very important. I understand what you're all saying, and I appreciate it. I don't want to start playing Pac-Man with our land. As I'm looking at the map again, and that whole River Gulf is, except for the one across the street, that other vacant, it's all on that. It's the church, as Pat said, and then the vacant lot, fire departments. I probably could go with the commercial mixed use, looking at that. But I'm telling you right now, I do not want to play Pac-Man with our city, because you might as well just shut it down and make it all.
I got.
So, I mean, that would be the reason that, as I'm looking at it again, knowing that the entrance is on River Gulf. It has to go with commercial mixed use, but I do not want to not continue to play Pac-Man.
Point taken. Okay, so I have a motion second. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, you call roll call.
Mayor Hoover, what's your vote? Vice Mayor, vote? Councilman Mueller, your vote?
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard, your vote?
Aye. Next is a quasi-judicial process. Yeah, and that's what's going to, we get to that. If you guys are good with a break, we'll take a quick 5, 10. Is that okay to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Since we're in the middle? Okay.
Fine. And I was just going to say, this is a great time for him to ask this question.
Yep. We're going to take 5.
Recording.
Oh, my God.
I brought food.
No, did you ask your question? We're on a break. About the
You answered my question. I got another.
And then I lost. Got Toby, the working got drowned in the laundry room. You know how little dogs are. You just can't find him. I go back when I go back. Cody gets trapped all the time. I'm like, where is he? I was looking everywhere. If I stand up too long, things get loose. If I sit down too long, things lock up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's either lock up or loosen up.
You're supposed to be in the middle. Right in the middle.
Sometimes I. You're like, oh. He doesn't stop.
I'm going to need to do that because I'm going to try real close to I better read that. Veronica mentioned it.
That guy takes care of that. Always needs mowed. I don't have any problem with somebody making money and building their wealth.
We should have like the shoes, so we hit these brakes. Yeah, what is? Happy Lunar New Year. That's
almost February. Oh.
they're doing it.
Well, at least it's got red on it. We can just call it our Valentine tree.
Lunar New Year. You're wrong.
Go, Matt, go.
Thank God for that. There's obviously not big side to log in, but since these are on domain, to log in as the local user, so they can use it. Backslash user and ID.
Going back in.
You're not for security purposes. So,
and I'm having to.
Yeah, you can,
I'm not.
Yeah. You
7. I put it in my head. If it does this 7 times, I'll do it for you. But if it doesn't, I'm not looking at you.
Huh? No. It's not going to be a line. It's only you and me.
Nancy?
Oh, Nancy.
They all use.
Exactly.
And we all know that we got logged. When we first come in, we were logged in last time, our names, and we just click on it and their password. They'll not hurt. JP Hoover. Vice Mayor. I was telling you about the issues when other people use and that just to.
Well, they're allowed to use it.
Well, no, so we get instructions on the quick, make sure they log out, and so we remember to log in.
Well,
I mean, we'll all figure it out in time. Until we.
Wouldn't have to figure shit out on that paper.
I agree 100%.
Every
But all the training you're receiving. You're not interested in training.
I don't have to learn anything anymore, John. No.
Occupy your.
Nope. I start. You want to bring? Let me pitch. Okay.
Bob? What do you say? Okay. Start.
This is in the.
There usually is.
Okay.
I'm making it.
Of Councilwoman Burke.
Take it.
So next up is the first reading of ordinance number 25-710. Read by title.
Yes. 7. An ordinance Port Richey, Florida, commercial zoning residential ID 3225160281. Parcel ID 32251602. Parcel ID from R2 to residential, commercial for an effective.
So you can go right to council consideration, or do I need to?
Yeah. This is your question.
This is you put on your different hats. You take off the legislative hat, you put on the quasi-judicial hat. And so I'll open the floor to motion and discussion, and I'll just jump in there. I've been chomping at the bit to have discussion because I'm excited to have it. So obviously with the future land use in place, as this comes back from planning and zoning, I had a real problem with the way this is written with the restrictions, and I'll tell you why. Before us, as a recommendation for planning and zoning, for property, a boat and RV storage property. That's all you can put there. And I am all for boat and RV storage for person. But my thinking is if we restrict it to that devalues the property and talks about all the things that staff is recommending. I think in the interim, I think there's a need, and if again, planning and zoning discussed it for boat and RV storage, because obviously you can't park at your house and you need places and and there's always a market for that because we live in a waterfront community and you got to have a place to park your I scoff at the fact that we would consider forcing that use upon that property, because I think it has so much more value than that. So where I'm at on this is I am recommending that we approve this for the same reasons that we. And in the interim, if they want to put a boat and RV storage lot there, they do it. They put it in, they make it nice or whatever. Obviously, they have to come with a plat. They have to abide by all the codes and make it look nice and all that. And I have no doubt they will do that. But I'd also like to give them or somebody, an investor, could turn into some of those transformational things that we need so desperately there. So I think we would definitely sell ourselves extremely short by forcing use of a boat and RV storage lot only. And so I highly, we watch what the future can bring for that. But in the interim, as I've said before, and I think property reason and government to take. So I want to make sure that the best use comes out of that, and we short sell that property if we lock it in at the boat and RV storage. And I think that does the exact same thing the staff is saying. That's going to devalue the property, although I don't think it would devalue. Actually increase it slightly because there's now convenient boat and RV storage for those folks over there. But I think long term, I think we prevent the very thing we want to happen. So those are my thoughts, at least initially. So I'll open up the floor to y'all's comments.
Where did they say that in here, Eric? I didn't see what. Yeah.
So they basically said approve the zoning C3, but it can only be.
But can you show it to me?
It's in your declaration of restrictions, which is an attachment to the ordinance.
Yeah, it's after the ordinance. It's
so on page 70. Look on page 70.
Thank you.
Paragraph 2, the owner shall develop the property for use only as recreational vehicle and boat storage with the main access to the property, and the main access to the property will be from River Gulf Road. That's the recommendation of P&Z.
So that creates a boat and RV storage lot.
I kind of agree with you, and of course, you know I'm going to disagree.
Well,
I agree with you.
Would expect anything less.
I think you're welcome.
I love having it.
I agree there should be no restrictions because you know how I love boat and RV storage.
Favorite thing.
Don't. Sorry. Into or they could go. They could. And it could be whatever. So, just saying only boat and RV takes a whole slew of things that would be.
That's exactly right.
Visually better to look at, more productive for the city, maybe financially better than boat and RV, like you were talking about the market and stuff like that. And I don't know if you were just talking about. I mean, there are other things that can absolutely bring. So I think pigeonholing it in. I would love to see take our. I know. Sorry, Mama's going to hit me. She's
like
never going to let me in the
huh?
restaurant again. You take boat and RV. It should be the opposite.
Yeah. The only thing.
But yes, I don't think you should eat there. We're going to be able to.
Just a reminder, if you change restrictions, they can come back and ask for that to change so they have a new plan to do something. Go through the process again to be changed. Just remember that. Just make sure you remember that.
You're pigeonholing someone into something that I don't think is good to look at.
Yeah.
I don't want to, if he puts our boat, I'm going to turn New York real quick. So, and he's is anything else, but I would not restrict it to boat and RV.
I'm glad we're on the same. So, and just the other part of that is where you say reverse. Again,
I know that's not what's here, so I understand.
and I don't want to do that. I said I hope we open up C3. We let them do what they can do there. I think it adds value, at least in the interim, because right now the area is what it is. But I can say, as I step back, and if I put an investor hat on, boat and RV storage lots are just vacant lots. I mean, it's a pure canvas. The current property owner is able to utilize that to turn a profit, to service his taxes, and all that, and quite frankly, probably, I mean, I know it doesn't equal the same as a house, but a vacant lot versus a boat and RV storage lot is a higher taxable valuation, I would guess. But anyway, the potential is. But some other investor, they see that, well, this is commercial 3. I could put anything in there. I can probably buy that up. Don't have to it. RVs out there, and I've got a blank canvas that I can create whatever. Whereas some of the other uses, if they put an office building or whatever, you got. While they aren't necessarily with the fence, no doubt. Those things in place to put fences around them and all that. I think that it actually would probably clean it up, and it would make it less of an eyesore than it already is, because it would have a fence around it, not just a post. It would actually have a fence around it, and it would have. We don't allow junkyards, so I think in the interim, I think it's a for the current owners, and I think it makes it right for someone to come along and change that, or even the owners after they find themselves in a different situation now that we have an administration change, and maybe things just go gangbusters. Let's hope, but they might all of a sudden change that plan and invest and do something transformational, like he had mentioned. So I think we just
but keep the main access on River Gulch.
And a fence.
So,
but that would all come in when they apply for a permit. They would have a site plan. They would present their picture, and if it wasn't acceptable to the city, I believe the city could opine on that and say, "Hey, you got to move this to there or something." And that's where the city gets it.
So I think we have the flexibility to make, depending on what it is, how that traffic flows. I believe, right? They can't just make the whole thing accessible. Yeah.
But it's in this document.
Well, that because of the RV storage, that was specific to that. So if you take that out, I think that's still going to be have that restriction in there. I guess is my question.
I would defer to the planner on.
Please.
Yes.
So the question is, without if we lift restrict, they come to us with a plan to put our RV boat storage with a huge interest on the Chapel, huge interest on Chapel. We don't have to accept that. We can request that it be there and approve it based on this interest being on the other street.
Yeah, so everything's layered. It's not a home plan because we're not detailed with zoning.
Hold on.
Wait.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, I turned off during the break.
Got Mikey up here.
There we go. It gets more refined as you get into site plans. So you look at how it fits within its context, what the traffic situation, what the buffering needs are. All those things are determined based on what the potential impacts are of whatever the use is, and then just whatever going to mitigate for impacts.
So we have the ability in the future when they want to do what they do, whether it's that or something else, that we can make sure that, and that's important from a planning perspective, obviously, as we look at the whole, what we think about doing there and how. But we have that flexibility as the projects come forward on how to deal with that. We don't have to restrict the.
And even with use, so there's a big long list of uses. You know, ask you guys think about what the impacts would be of different. So maybe somebody comes in and purchases this, and they have a totally different idea. Maybe it's something that you don't want to see in that area. The city can look at that to say, well, this is going to be more impactful than this can endure, and the residential nearby, and all those things, and say, I can't. It's not a buy plan and read your land development code.
Right. And it will always, well, I won't say always, but for the foreseeable future, at least in my vision that I've told, I'm thinking about the other side, Chapel. And so you always have that buffering requirement between commercial and residential.
Let me tell you about how that's done. And I think maybe when we did the Cormel Street rezoning, I brought to you to say that you usually stop the use at the mid. You want your streets to be identified, have a synergy amongst them. So you the street
right.
Because you with a like and an and compatibility.
We have those in place now where they have to be set back off the.
Well, I'm thinking about the mid-block. So right now you have commercial on Grand Boulevard. At the mid-block it stops and it becomes residential. That's the natural divider. So you'd have a block or a mid-block, street and residential. Opposed to outcome, you know, placemaking and stable, and just good neighborhood. So sometimes you have a commercial use across commercial uses like the corner store, the sidewalk cafe, those things, but not everything on that list is going to give you that same type of outcome. So you have to be very about what sort of commercial that you accept within your community. And I think what the applicant's talking about, his vision for a food hall or food market sort of thing is a great, that would be a perfect complement to a residential area. Mm-hmm. It's just that there's no guarantee that's what you're going to get. And we see a lot of instances within the city that the commercial isn't really very high quality. It's not. And so, you know, sometimes you have to create a saying, like holding your line, you know, having that vision and saying this is what we want to be, because the people who are around that are expecting some level of predictability. That's when they decide they want to invest. But if they don't see anything that around them it's improving, why do you take an extra dollar out of your pocket to improve your community when the decisions that are happening around you are bringing it down? So I think in this particular case, there's some opportunity there. I think that the city manager is talking about doing some more detailed planning for like a main street along Grand Boulevard. So this would fit right into that. But I do agree with the concept of land use and slope. We said you've already got commercial, so we. I've said, well, there's already. I can't even make a pattern. It's so disordered. I can't say. And I had a council member say to me, "Do they do this in other communities?" I said, I didn't have an answer because they don't. I mean, there's some, of course, there's some, but order is also very important, and that's why sometimes stepping back and look at that big picture of where your commercial is and what you have left that's residential. Some of your residential is not going to be impacted. It's either in some sort of planned development or it's in a place where no commercial would want to exist. But other places are very vulnerable, and that's where I think that the city should look to be thoughtful in those cases. So anyways, I've said too much.
Yeah, appreciate it. There, I mean, there's things in there that happen, and you know, there's there's also uses in there that probably business put. When I think about things close to residential, I see the incorporate residential and business that feeds that residential, whether it be coffee shops or ice cream shops or whatever. So I get the planning aspect of it, but I also understand that as time goes on, things change and commercial grows, commercial shrinks, right? It all depends. And, well, right now nothing's happening over there at all. So residential's not exploding; it's falling down.
Right now, I see the biggest problem with that piece of property is Gary. No one wants to live behind Gary. He's got big red trucks, make a whole lot of noise. So it's hard. No one wants to build a park. Now, if we move Gary across the street, it's nothing personal. I love your trucks, and an investor may buy that block.
The state that the city could potentially develop into something if that
This
happens.
is allowing that potential.
So, any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt the first reading ordinance number 25-710, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Port Richey, Florida, amending the official zoning map to parcel ID 3225-1602-80-01-100-0200 and parcel ID 3225-1602-01-100-0230 and parcel ID 3225-1602-80-01-100-231 containing 0.9 acres more or less from R2 to C3 general commercial and providing for an effective date.
Is that with? Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Who was second? I'm sorry.
Bob. And a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll put the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, item number 5, second reading of ordinances to amend the charter of the city of Port Richey. Pass that to Mr. Cobb for introduction. Since you haven't had a chance to talk much, I'll give you something.
Oh, it's quite all right. What you have is 15 ordinances that you've discussed that will amend the charter for a number of different reasons in a number of different sections. And so we can get.
Okay. So we've got actual, and then right after the ordinance resolution, or how's it?
Do all the ordinances.
Oh, do all the ordinances and
All
come back to the
ordinances,
language?
And then we'll do the resolutions after
Okay.
that, because the resolutions don't matter if the ordinance doesn't pass. So let's just get all
Okay.
the ordinance done.
Okay, so we're going to roll through all the ordinances. Let me get there.
On page 85, I believe.
83.
83.
Yep. Reading, so we went through these or whatever. So unless you have any specific things that change or whatever, read the ordinance. So move it in a second. We go right through them. So I need a motion to approve filing as a candidate for any municipal office in the city of Port Richey.
No, that's not the right title. Sorry.
Oh.
You don't have the titles. Let me just read the title. I need to read my title.
Yeah,
Oh, do you have each one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, ready?
Yep.
Okay. Ordinance number 25-713. Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the city of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2.01, composition eligibility requirement.
Do I have a motion to approve that? Or
Motion to approve ordinance number 25-713.
Second.
Hold second. I got Lisa made the motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay. Dave second. All in favor? Sorry. Any further discussion?
Next up, you read by title.
Ordinance number 25714, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2.02C, 2.02D, 2.05A1, and 4 April, and providing for an effective date.
Do you have a motion to approve? So moved from Linda. Do I have a second?
Second.
You're too slow, Dave.
Second. So, any further- any comment for the public? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. Saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, you read by title.
Ordinance number 25715, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2 vacancies for vacancies by city for an effective.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got Linda for second. Motion second. Any
You want a
further,
delay over there?
any further discussions? Any from public comment? Seeing no hands up, put to the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next.
25717, and there is a change from the first time language. So if you look on page 104, halfway down,
Can't wait. I gotta get
did I
that.
pick my,
Skip one.
did I skip one? Hold on.
716.
Okay. Amendment to the city charter to delete subsection B7 of section 2.03 vacancies, forfeiture of office, filling of vacancies, and extraordinary vacancies as inconsistent with the laws of Florida and providing for an effective date.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any from public comment? Seeing no hands, put to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
25717, halfway down the first red paragraph of red, it's under in section 1C, filling of vacancies. We have changed the language to say unless the election, but if you choose to, you can. Okay.
I like options.
That's the only change that we made.
Yes.
All right. Ordinance 25717, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, Port Richey, a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2.03, modify the process by which a vacancy on council is addressed, and delete Section 2.03D as it is incorporated into amended Section 2.03C, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Please read next by title.
Ordinance number 25718, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2.05, procedures to update obsolete language and provide for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Ordinance number 25719, an ordinance of the City of electors of the City, proposed amendment to City 105, procedures to expand voting rules to include Section 203 of the city's charter, allow the affirmative vote to be based on the council person's present when the vote is taken, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Any further discussion? Actually, if you need clarification, let me know. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, please read by title.
Ordinance number 25720, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 9 into 3 separate paragraphs, eliminating a compound paragraph, remove duplicative, provide for renumbering of paragraphs, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have Linda and a second with
Second.
Dave.
Yeah.
Any further comments? Any public like to speak? Seeing none, I'll put it to the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
721, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of amendment to City Charter Section 4.06, determination the manner in which election results will be determined. In subsection B, removal of subsection C as the language is incorporated into subsection B, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any public comment? See no hands up put to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Ordinance number 25722, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City 101 Department language and providing for an effective date.
Discussion? Public comment? See no hands up, bring it to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Ordinance number 25723, an ordinance of Florida submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 7 building for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I got Dave.
Yes, I talked to him about, made a joke like I could be the head of the department, right? I have, and I talked to him, and he's going to explain why that's not it. That's not true.
Well, that's laugh at that, but it was kind of
Well, you could have a master's in finance and you could consider
right.
No.
You're going to say
I'd like
the
the
charter.
city manager to
The
explain.
charter restricts you from being able to.
I'd like
The
others.
floor.
Briefly, you know, this is a thought of a big because there's a lot of different things going on, right? You know, we do have building permits, planning permits, and we have planning, land use, like we just went through. There's DTRs. There's a lot of umbrella, which really makes it a department of development services. And when you start looking at, you know, the building official wears, you know, not only are they the building official, but they're also the floodplain manager. They also, you know, under left out code enforcement is one of those. And so, you know, as we really make sense the way that the ordinances and this line up, that does one individual over top of all these different competencies that we're going to be doing, and allows then people to have or enforcement or make sure the BTRs are being done right. I mean, and so that's answered what all, and you know, they don't have to be a building official to oversee the whole department. Obviously, to be a building official, you have to have the certification to be a building official. But again, that's an agency within the overall Department of Development Services. But, you know, as we talked earlier, in St. Clair Shores, we had Development Services. And there, the Director of Development Services was an architect. And, you know, he oversaw not only the building department, but he also oversaw the land use. And he also oversaw capital improvements. Now, because of that, it wouldn't make sense to have someone that didn't understand construction for that. So, I mean, I think there is necessary in the grand schemes of a development services department to have someone that's qualified and has, you know, an engineering degree or an architectural degree, or even, you know, having experience as a building official and the licensed building official, maybe not doing the building permit. I mean, you know, the ability to have, you know, someone just looking at building code as the main person overseeing the department.
Let it tell us why Linda can't be the partner.
Why? There'd be no room to ride a horse.
That's true. Well, I could ride the if I could.
Well, council members can't be that, and even if we resigned or Pacific 2 years, we could come back.
Well, I think her point though isn't an individual council member doing it. You know, she has concerns that anybody could be it. It's that sense. As it relates to the building official, within the codes in the state, you have to have a licensed person overseeing the building code, but it overseeing code enforcement. I mean, you don't need that person to oversee code enforcement, and I think that's the change here. Is it just opens it up to say that you don't have to worry about that conflict. And I think, well, so if that change is going to happen, it's better to have the opening now rather than you can't do it. So,
And basically, it aligns with the rest of the department heads. They're chosen, right? Why would this be any different? This charter basically, what it was is it forces to be the building official. So is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, it was seconded. That's why we had the discussion.
Oh, did I do? I just got lost in that
So now we're voting.
So, any further comment? Any public like to speak? See no hands up, put to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Ordinance number 25-724, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter law and provide for.
Is there a motion? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? See no hands put to vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Next up, read by title.
Ordinance number 25-725, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2.8.02, Board of Adjustment, to allow members of the Board of Adjustment to serve on committees and provide for an effective date.
We lost Pat. Something to see, Pat. Is there
Motion.
second? Sorry, Bob.
That's fine.
Dave, any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title, please.
Ordinance number 25-726, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 2.0 point to define a quorum and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And last but not least,
Yes, and this one has modifications. Remember last time I put the annual salary instead of the monthly salary, so this time it is representing the monthly salary. So it's consistent with what the title says. Ordinance 25-727, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, submitting to the electors of the City of Port Richey a proposed amendment to City Charter Section 1107, salary of City Council, to modify the monthly salary for the mayor and council members and provide for an effective date.
is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve ordinance 25-727.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any further discussion?
I've had some people telling me they're not going to vote for it because of the difference, like we talked about last time, the difference in they're not, they consider five of us equal. Yes, you have additional responsibilities, but so just to let you
That's
know.
why we put to a vote and see what happens.
Did you explain why?
Of course I did.
Okay.
I didn't, Dave.
No.
So, any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Now we're going to go through the resolutions.
Yes, we are.
Okay. And I know there's probably going to be some changes on these, so
Yes,
we're going
and
to
I that the ballot title and ballot language for all the amendments that you're proposing. The title is limited to 15 words by Florida law, and the description is limited to 75 words. So if we make any amendments, stay within that numbers. So the first one's resolution number 2503 from the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question, amending Section 2.01C of the City Charter to be placed on the April 8th, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing an effective date.
We reference Pasco County in this thing, and should that not be Port Richey? Because I mean,
You look at the language you have for your candidates, they have to be,
they have to live in the city of Port Richey.
Yeah.
that's not on there. I think that is somewhere though.
Length of
It's right
residency
there.
should be on
Under
there.
requirements for
It is.
filing
That is
as
a
a
requirement.
candidate,
It is.
length of residency
Where is
in
it?
the
So
city
look-
of Port Richey,
Okay, look, yeah.
on page
So that-
85.
That didn't change. What you changed, you've gotten rid of
I see.
age, sex, and length of state of Florida.
I see.
They're still showing that they're voters of Pasco County and their length of residency in Port Richey.
Well,
I see
so
what you're saying. I
this
see what
is
you're saying.
ballot information, and so when I read that,
Yep.
not
You're-
knowing what's going on, it almost sounds like
But you are correct. Yes. So the explanation I have that they're registered voters in Pasco County and physically reside in Pasco County for 12 months. It should be physically reside in Port Richey for 12 months.
for the and I would say reside in the city of Port Richey.
Yeah. Well, I'll see how many words I have. It may just say Port Richey.
Okay, well,
But yes, that the second Pasco County and the explanation should be Port Richey. Thank you for noticing that.
my pleasure. Any other motion or discussion?
Yeah, you're counting all these words. Do you count the should the charter be amended? Is that part of the words?
I even
And is
counted the yes.
and-
I counted yes and no. It doesn't say, so I counted yes and no
Okay,
to make sure we don't end up with an issue. Because the
because then it throws it in monkey wrench into this.
well, no, because we're taking Pasco County out and putting Port Richey in. So taking two out, putting two in.
Okay.
So,
And I'll check it. And if I can put city of, I will.
so just procedurally as we go through these, let's say that we're good with this. Do they truncate? Do they say, "Hey, this is too many words"? What's the procedure?
My guess is if it's too many words, it doesn't happen.
You don't have a chance to correct it and fix it.
I don't believe so. I would have to check with Tiffany. I don't believe you're on the timeline.
That's double checked,
Yeah.
all these paragraphs,
Yeah.
and
And
maybe we need to ask the question with Tiffany.
What gets counted?
Yeah, we
what
can always
doesn't?
ask.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
my guess is she.
Whether you count the yeses and nos and,
Yeah.
But the way they're drafted, we're within our numbers.
okay.
But I will double check them all, obviously, too.
Yep, double, triple
Our-
check.
About 5-time check, whatever that would be.
Be job sure, as they
I've
say.
checked them quite a few times.
Is there a motion or discussion?
Well,
Second.
Okay, motion and second. It's a motion to approve.
I need, go ahead and approve with the noted change. Thank you.
motion with noted change.
Second.
With, right?
Yes.
Okay, and second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
City Rich. Question amending section 2.02C, 2.02D, 2.05A1, and 4 to be placed on the April 8, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve or discussion?
Where were we?
Now this, you're on page.
Where you lost? I was.
No,
Okay.
this whole thing, this
Oh.
mouse is just, look,
I know. I
158.
hate this mouse.
it's going home. But I'm not doing anything.
The resolution starts on 157. The proposed language that you need to review is on 158.
What, I'm sorry, what, I apologize. What-
157.
157, thank you. I'm sorry, Dave.
No problem.
And then
The language 158.
the language.
That's the important part, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Go ahead, Davey.
Motion to approve 2504. Resolution 2504.
Second. Okay, motion second. Saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 505. A referendum April 8th, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
One second here. Yes. Any further? Any public comment? Seeing it, bring to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number 2506, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question amending Section 203B7 of the City Charter to be placed on the April 8th, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve or discussion?
So moved.
Second. And motion second. Any further discussion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number 2507, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question amending Section 203 of the City Charter to be placed on the April 8th, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing an effective date.
One is a filling. Is there a motion to approve or discussion?
Motion to approve
with the noted change.
With noted change.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, put to the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question amending Section 205A2 of the City Charter to be placed on the April 8th for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Election, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve or discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
A motion second. Further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number 25 of the Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question amending Section 205A3 of the City Charter to be placed on the April 8, 2025 election ballot, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Election, and providing an effective date.
So this, the wording was a little hokey to me. Well, I think there's another one too, but to this one, so allows council to vote when less than a quorum is present. We can't vote if less than a quorum is present.
I had a question about that too.
Yeah. No. Okay, because this is referring back to Section 203, where you can. In Section 203,
Well,
that's the
we
one
never
time.
vote when it's less than a quorum.
That's the one time when you have less than a quorum and you can vote to add your members.
You can vote.
Go back to Section 203.
Oh, you mean to add new members?
Yes. Remember in Section 203 of your charter.
So not
if you're
absent members.
if you're under, if you quorum, you physically don't. You have empty seats.
You got two people.
Right. 203 allows you.
Do a second.
Remember, you talked about you and Linda having to agree on something.
Oh, yeah.
That's what.
And then the other part of it is that we do have all the members present need to.
Right, and that's you
The
want to
majority
make sure, yes, not the total.
Are we short on words here?
It looks shorter than the rest. I don't have a.
Would it be better to say allows council to vote when
somebody resigns?
Well, when
emergency. I'm just
some way to point out that when the council's short on council members, quorum changes with the amount of council members. If we have 3, we have to have all 3 there. If we have 4, we have to have 3 there. 5, 3 there. Right? If we have 2, well then we need to be able to.
Yeah, something like emergency, or I mean something that delineates that it's a special circumstance, not just we all decided to go to Disney together and left 2 people there.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the language in 203 to see that.
Here's probably the best way to do it. It's 3, right? right? We have to have 3. So I would say allows council to vote when less than 3 council members, well, something like that.
Appointed or something. I mean, there's something.
So basically, if we don't have 3 sitting,
Yeah.
so if it's 2 or 1, then it gives us the ability to. Yeah. So I wouldn't use quorum because quorum can be construed wrong there.
Actually, it's the actual term that you need.
Well, I mean,
less than a quorum.
But this is the explanation.
Yeah.
So
explain it to people, layman.
we have to have a quorum, which is 3 to me. What this is addressing is when less than a quorum is present. Okay, but present, we're talking about present next, where you get a majority of the quorum, right? This is quorum when less than a quorum.
That's what it says.
Well, it's
When
a
less
little
than a
confusing.
quorum is present, contrary to normal voting procedures.
If you guys are confused, we need to fix it.
Yeah, because the general public would definitely be confused. They might be confused, so. I tell you, there's nothing worse than
How about
going in.
like something like unexpected council vacancies instead of absent, because you're not absent with like.
Well,
The wording,
it's really what it is, but if
the wording in 203 is if at any time the membership, and this is, okay, let me say this too. This is the new wording. So actually, I guess it's probably already in there. Anyway, anytime the membership of council is reduced to less than a quorum, the remaining members may, by majority.
yeah, that clarifies it.
That's
Section 203.
Because it refers to actual members of council.
So I can amend it to say this amendment would amend 5A3 of the city charter to include section 203. Section 203 allows
Is less than a quorum?
when membership of council is
Something like that.
when you got to get the language to come back. There's no time for this to come back to you. So I need a consensus. So if it reads, this amendment would amend section 205A through 203. Section 203 allows council
Membership or membership of council.
to vote at any time the membership of council is quorum. And then it's going to affirmative vote.
Yeah. Well, if you get words, that's okay.
Yeah.
You could probably say it less wordy, but
Well, I'm taking out quite a few doing
Okay.
it this way, so
Okay.
we'll be fine with
as
words.
long as you're good with words.
Are we okay with that?
Language. I get a motion to approve
motion to approve
with the changes.
as
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number 25-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question, amending section 206B9 of the city for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Election, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
Approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion second. Is there further discussion? We've lost the offer's there. If you'd like to speak, seeing none, I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
25-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question, amending section 4.06B and section 4.06C of the city charter to be placed on the 25 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Election, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve or discussion? Motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 12, a resolution question in text for proposed referendum question amending section 5.01I of the city charter to be placed on the April 8, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date for the Pasco County election.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Any public? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number 25-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot question text for proposed referendum question amending to be 25 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Election and effective.
Second. Is in reference to the Building and Construction Inspection Department. That's directly out of there because in the section it's Building Inspection
Yes.
Code Compliance Department.
Yes, Mr. Coppler and I noticed very late in the game that they are not consistent and your ordinance, so we would have to start over one to change one. So I
Deal.
staying consistent.
It was two. Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Except read by title.
Resolution number 25-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question amending section 608 of the city charter to be placed on the April 8, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Discussion. Any public? Back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution number 25-15, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum question amending section 8.02C of the city charter, April 8, 2025 election ballot.
And then bring it to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, read by title.
Resolution 20, resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot proposed referendum question amending section 8.04 of the city charter to be placed on the April 8, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election of the Pasco County Supervisor of Election, and providing an effective date.
For discussion. Let's see something here. So, and define a quorum in light of the range of positions. This month.
Language will let you have a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. So you have to define a quorum because.
Would it be better to quorum X, Y? I'm not sure what this is telling me. And define a quorum in light of the range of positions this modification will allow.
Because you could range, and you're defining a quorum. That's why
people you've got a quorum. You've got 5 people, 3 people's a quorum.
Yeah,
change it.
I mean, I understand that the goal, but when a layperson who they say, what's happening here?
Yeah,
And
no,
what you don't want to happen. I'm going to vote no because I have no idea what they're talking
Agreed. So if anyone, that's why when earlier there was confusion, fix it. So I am fine with putting and defining a quorum as a majority of those appointed.
Yeah.
The number of.
I would just change that. It would read charter amendment would.
That's,
I would. The comprehensive plan committee quorum as a majority is appointed. Period.
that definitely captures the essence of it. Is that put it in
Amend section 804 of the charter to modify the number of positions on the
Well, they,
current land
okay,
to
yes, we can do that. I didn't do that because it's down here. They get.
You're good then.
There's plenty of room in there to add that.
Well, you're good then, providing they read that. But if they get confused and they have that below there to reference, I think it's fine. I didn't realize that.
In case let's just add. I think adding it's safer because some people read the.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's
we're putting
fine.
a lot of things.
Okay, so the charter amendment would amend 804 of the charter to
to allow for a minimum
council
of 3
to-
and a maximum of 5.
to allow council to appoint a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 positions on the comprehensive land use plan committee and define a quorum as a majority of those appointed.
Beautiful.
This will help council appoint sufficient members to obtain a quorum so the committee can meet and perform its function. Should the charter be amended?
Yep.
Everyone okay with that one?
Yeah, as long as you're good with words.
Yep, I
That's
think
much
that'll be
better.
fine.
Do we have a motion to?
Is that why you discussed?
Well, sometimes we discuss first. So we get motion second. Ashley.
2516, motion by Councilman Mueller, second by
Okay.
Councilman Burke.
Any further discussion?
We need a motion.
We need. So I need to amend the motion. Who's the maker?
Dave.
With modifications. Amended motion 2516 with modifications.
And second agree. With Bob.
I'll second.
He was the original second, right?
No, Lisa was.
Oh well, Lisa.
I changed my mind.
So it's
You're
good.
wearing me out.
Doesn't matter.
So okay, Bob's got the second one. She just has to change her notes.
That's all right.
So vote all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Please read by title next one.
All right. This topic. Resolution number 2517, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, providing for ballot title, ballot question, and text for proposed referendum April 8, 2025 election ballot, providing for the election date, providing for coordination with the Pasco County Supervisor of Elections, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah. The second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
When I counted this, there was 85 words here.
Oh, no way. Well, I didn't count it by hand. I did them.
I copied it into Word.
That's what I did.
Holy crap.
Let's see. Let me find it.
It's actual title,
Because you
right?
sent an
No,
email
title's
out
separate.
about that.
Oh, title separate?
Yeah.
Titles 15 separately.
So did you be surprised?
I counted.
Credit's not
This
due.
gets mind numbing after a while. When you do this many,
Imagine it does.
because it was one study
Yeah,
session.
keep going.
Yeah, just keep going, keep going.
So I counted from this charter to a. I thought I had
Question mark a word?
Huh?
You know, and maybe
Punctuation of
this was
word?
the last one. Maybe I forgot to check how many.
Oh, I just looked at it. You said you got.
No, I know that's what I. Hold on.
Amendment.
Yeah, yeah. You'll see some. I have to say,
If you include the yes and no, it's
I
74.
said 74.
Yeah, the 72 without the yes.
Yeah.
Dave, or something going on.
Hey, I use Excel. You know.
That's the. That's,
The only
You could have a run-on sentence, you know,
Yep,
or something.
that's I got creative on.
the only thing I will a lot, and I probably perform a lot more than probably most. I go way above and beyond. That aside, that's not what this is about. Even if I didn't do that, it's the additional duties required of the mayor. It's not. I mean, the job after me, they need extra money. Like I said, this is not about me. I'm just want to make sure that we have good people in the seats that get a return for their time. And I can tell you, I bust my ass for. Thank God we're
or consider raising thing with the cost of living. We've really not done anything. If you across the years, we rounded down. So it's to be clear that it's there's additional duties required. When you all leave, I'm gonna be signing 1,000 charter amendments and all. I mean, it's just this is one example. And I do if the public, you go above and beyond. I don't know how I would ever even hold.
Well, I don't think $360 a month is a real job.
Well, this is a real job. It doesn't pay like a real job.
Yeah.
Yes.
But people understand that, you know.
Yeah. Well, if this doesn't, if this doesn't pass, and
that's cool.
And I know that, and I'm just talking to you. They don't like me, and they have that. That they're going to vote that way, and I would say them, the rest of council, because they don't want to compensate. That, again, I don't want to get it, be released later, but you know, there's been a lot happened, and I will refer to the news article because obviously the Suncoast News ran with this. Is okay to. Okay, so since they don't talk about, we reduce the look back and all the good things that we do. They pull us out like, oh, I didn't really like the slant of the article, and I thought at the end of the day, even with this COLA adjusted salary, we do and responsibility we have, and I can tell you, I would challenge those people that, and they should vote in accordance with what they think they should remember. Like, help me out, and somebody else is going to come in, and they should get compensated for it. And I, as a tax, would agree with it 100%. So I'm confident. I mean, there's going to be people vote no. I have no question about that. But I would challenge them to obviously look at the whole and to consider what actually we're making now and what we have done for the last 2 years. How far we've come and what we're doing for the city. I mean, it's night and day. So if this doesn't pass, I would be shocked. And at that point, I would suggest that we reintroduce it. I think we can call another referendum and special election to address it with different terms. So. And I would definitely be for do that because, like, I feel bad if that was really the reason that it didn't pass. I think if it didn't pass, it's because they don't want to pay. It's going to be deceptive. Undoubtedly a difference because when those people out there, if they, you have friends or whatever. I mean, obviously you guys, people are close to you, calling me, and I tell you constantly. I'm on email constantly. Don't sleep. I tell you, it's mind-boggling. And I'll say one more thing just for the public. Chopper Davis, he served 3 terms on council and realized until different. I'd love to job share with y'all one day, and you'd see the difference. And again, that doesn't stop me from doing above and beyond things that I attend all the planning and zoning, all the other meetings. I mean, we're not required to do that. We can watch it online. I sit here in the audience almost 90% of the time.
And you got a badge. And you got a badge.
Well, you'll get one too. So, anyway, I feel this should have never been structured this way. We're trying to fix it for the future. And by all means, if that extra $175 a month,
Okay.
they should run and donate their time. I guess. So anyway, so I got to.
We need, if we want to change the word performed to required,
but
we need an amended motion.
I don't think we've had a motion on this yet, have
I thought we did.
Do it.
Not yet.
Ashley, do. Oh, we did. Who's the maker?
For 17, Lisa.
Okay, Lisa, you change the performed to required.
My mouth's buzzed. I amend it.
Okay, and who's the second?
Her second. Dave.
Yeah, second. You agree with that? Okay, I got a motion second. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I break to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving right along to. Oh gosh, we're just now making it council business, huh? Okay, so council business, item number 6, approval of resolutions approving the necessary, the other way. Item number 7, approve resolution number 2519, adopting a process to disclose ex parte communications pursuant to section 286.0111 Florida statutes. I can probably pass that to Nancy for.
I'll read Resolution 2518, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, adopting a process to disclose ex parte communications pursuant to Section 286.0115 Florida statutes and providing for an effective date. And you may remember we talked about this a while ago, and it was decided.
Maybe you could just give a short explanation of what exactly this does.
Yes. So what it doesn't. Without this, the law will, if there's an ex parte communication involved in like a zoning action that you hear, the law will presume that ex parte communication, passing this and following it, which is what we already do. I ask you guys, and you disclose
Right.
if you have them. Passing this resolution and following it, if there is a lawsuit that is claiming an ex parte communication is the presumption shifts, and they have to prove it's
Puts burden of proof on them.
prejudicial, which is what you want. You don't want to go in with a presumption that you're already in the wrong. So this helps you fight any, so that it makes it easier for you to.
But procedurally, all the things we just did tonight still apply, still do them. It's just the presumption of guilty and not guilty has changed. The burden of proof.
Burden of proof changes.
Motion to approve 2518 resolution.
I have motion Lisa and Linda second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? See no hands up to vote. All in favor, signify by carries. It's my understanding that item number 8, 7808 Weber Lane pulled. Is that correct?
The property owner wanted us to pull.
Motion to dismiss this or just
Nope.
pass over?
Just by the
So it's
property owner.
it's been pulled, no longer an issue. Item number fishing pier demolition bid approval. I'll pass it to Ms. Cobb for introduction.
On December 23rd, 2000, it was conducted to demolish the limestone fishing pier. Contractors, SC Signature, and staff reviewed the bids with Coastal Engineering to make a which contractors recommended to the council. City staff recommended SC Signature are selected.
Open up to motion and discussion. I'll point out two bids. What the engineers came up with was 96,260. SC came in at less than that, almost 10,000, 690, and the other one was outside of the world. It was like 200 and something, 224,900. So items. I didn't see anything that was. We were getting
Motion to approve SC signature.
Any further discussion?
Yes. In the future, what I'd like to see on any of these bid openings, I would like to see a side-by-side summary of each bid so that we know and have the finance people look at this to ensure that that's a like-to-like comparison. One-page summary it summarizes everything here, right? And I would like to know that somebody understands this and that we've got like to like. I tried to do that, but essentially somebody's controlling this from in-house, and I would like that assurance added in a summary format.
As well as all this information.
Yeah. The
I mean, you're making the recommendation, I see that, but
so
I would like a summary sheet.
And I agree that would be it's our responsibility to review those things and find those things, but what kind of load on staff would that be to provide like a executive summary? What's
You're
different?
just asking for the bid tab. Separate what they've, because all the everything, the description of what they're doing, that's all common between the two. So the only difference is what
Totally
They're
different
much
looking,
more
yeah.
things than the other one, so the
That's
price is just a little different, right?
Yeah, this is different.
So I think he's more concerned not with this because this was very easy. You just it was $100,000 for the demo. That's where $100,000 of it was. But they were all
How difficult would it be to receive three bids? Here's the prices. Here's the line items. We've chosen this one because it's the lowest, or we chose this one because it wasn't the lowest because of whatever.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll bring it back for vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Florida Green Finance Authority is in compliance with what the agreement provides and I don't have the rest of that. So
that's okay. So at the last meeting that this was discussed, it was brought the county tax collector, I think, had done away with a contract with one of these. We investigated it, and in the end, it wasn't this. I think as the city, I keep going around in circles with this. This is the request that the months, but I don't think that it really makes sense for us to have to do this. And I don't want to speak for the city attorney. She can probably say it a lot more eloquently than I, but it's kind of irrelevant for us to, adopt something like this. But you can, but I don't think there's any requirement that you do so.
So, yeah, I agree. So, I've reviewed and of course, the agreements we make with these entities, they say they'll follow the appropriate laws and they'll do what they're supposed to do. What's happened recently is there's been a large overhaul of the statute governing the entities that implement this kind of stuff. I can't think of the word I want to use. So there's more requirements on them. It's nothing for the city. There's no requirements on the city. And they're now turning around and asking. And public records said they are not consistent. Since they're new, so now they're asking you to say they've notified us of the change in statute. We feel they're in compliance, and we want them to continue with this program in our city. They did notify you of the change in law. They did. There's no requirement that you acknowledge that they're in compliance, and you really have no way of knowing if they're in compliance other than them telling you they're in compliance. And I'm sure they are. I have no doubt that they are doing what's right, despite some people canceling contracts with other entities similar to this. But you really don't have that knowledge firsthand. So that makes me a little worried. There's nothing in the contract that says you have to. Saying that, the third option, the third thing they're asking for in this letter is that you will allow them to continue the program in the city. So they may not if you don't sign it. They may. They won't continue the program, but so there's no clients, because if they're not, the department of whoever's monitoring them is not going to listen to us anyway. So it's kind of a strange document.
That spread the liability out to us if we rubber stamp it.
And pass the time, say no.
They get the information using this program.
That's funny you asked that, because Matt's tried to find that out.
And they tend not to answer the phone 30 a night.
So it seems like they don't want to provide the information. That was discussed, like, does the city need this? Is anyone using this? Is anyone benefiting from this? And we can't give you that answer.
Motion to table this to a future date.
Well, we probably just need to act on it. I don't hear the motion, but
There's clear.
Yeah.
so you're for or against. You need more information, or
And you also, I think, it could go one step further, and maybe that's a discussion for a different day. If you don't have the information, do you even want this program to be in your city? I mean, they may not be providing anything to people. They may be. We don't know the answer to that.
well, if we don't adopt it,
I don't know if they will terminate
well,
the program.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is we don't adopt it. That doesn't say that.
No. Well,
So
it
could they?
may, because it depends. It depends on their follow up also. So it is word you don't want them to continue in the city, but that would require them also.
Process you have to go through to get out of it. I mean, they can't just say, oh, you don't want to be in it,
Right.
so you're out of it. There is a withdrawal process.
So maybe a conversation to determine if you just their reaction is. I mean, Matt, like I said, he tried to call a number of times to have this discussion and didn't really get.
The only thing that has issues, obviously, but it does help residents that are in financial straits to be able to possibly. Although it's probably not the most move, but if you need it, it's there. So it's a personal choice. You should be an educated personal choice. I don't know if I want to take that choice away from them either. So, but
And I think another aspect to all this is, I'm pretty sure is that the county actually deals with a number of these in the process, and one less. I don't know if it necessarily stops another PACE authority. They can come in and market themselves. Eliminate that. I don't know really the benefit we're getting by lining with this particular company, other than they can say that when they do go out and market it, whenever the city is part of our authority, and I don't think it necessarily stops any other PACE-like authority to come in and offer the same services. And there's a number of them out there, because when you first started looking into what Councilmember Burke said, I was looking at a number of different these. Which one was it that he got rid of? They all are very close to the same name.
So you haven't heard approve it, but you sounds.
Well, it's more. The more that we've talked about it since.
So you've changed that to not approve.
Well, it's up to you.
Well, sure, but
I think the fact that Matt has called and is not getting response to the city manager, a government official,
speaks volumes.
speaks volumes. And then I'm Joe Blow resident. Are they going to respond to me?
Mm-hmm.
So
probably not.
That's kind of responsive to, but the government official they're not responsive to. So it doesn't sound like they're very
Okay,
The other thing just that is, we received this notice now, I think it was back in September. It's been a while. Yeah, it was August. It's been a while. They've never gotten back and asked us if we're doing this or not. So
That's why I suggested table.
Table, do you want to hold that motion to table? Because you acted first. Or you
Yes,
wanna-
I'd like to
Okay.
hold that motion.
Okay, is there a second for the motion to table?
Second.
Motion to table? Second? Okay, so I have a motion. Any further discussion?
So this to get back to us. In other words, on this until we get response to our city manager.
Any other discussion? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay. Next up.
Time out. We're not out of the program. We
Right.
indicated that we can. There's a withdrawal process, right?
Your motion is tabled is granted.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification there.
Yep.
So we're still in the program.
We haven't done anything. Wait, just haven't made a decision. So that's all council business. We have item number 11, old business. Is there any discussion?
Next time.
I have
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold
I know
on.
you were waiting for me.
No, I will point to you when it's time. So,
Sorry.
all right. It's a pretty important thing. I don't want to skip it. I have something.
I'm used to the other way, so I
Yeah,
So
we all are.
I'll start with you, Vice Mayor Rodriguez. Anything? Okay. Councilwoman Burke. Councilman Hubbard.
Nope.
The only thing I have is after the last meeting, Nancy and I spoke briefly, and she had mentioned something, and I think it was great. I just want to give you credit for that.
It is yet. I can't wait to say what I said.
Pins and
hear what
needles,
I
right?
said. I know.
So obviously, Bill, and given his service to the city, something along to recognize his service and appreciation that they could have that proclamation with that during a council. Is there any- Done if execute that for us.
There better be a second.
Five. The second, all in favor?